Chapter 17. Angelique on vacation. With each passing mile, Angelique's anticipation grew stronger. Her parents' house had always been her sanctuary, a place of comfort and familiarity. Packing had been a breeze. Thanks to the nature of her job, she always had a suitcase ready for unexpected trips. This time, the only adjustment needed was swapping her formal attire for more laid-back outfits. With that, she was on her way. The journey from Texas had been surprisingly smooth given the current circumstances. For majority of the drive, the road seemed almost ordinary, devoid of any signs of chaos or unrest. However, as she neared the Missouri state line, the reality of the situation became evident. Though she was still a considerable distance away, traffic had slowed to a snail's pace, with a seemingly endless line of vehicles inching forward. Angelique quickly realized that this wasn't going to be the straightforward trip she had envisioned. Determined to escape the snarl of traffic, Angelique steered her vehicle onto the exit ramp, feeling a wave of relief wash over her. She wasn't alone in her decision. Several other vehicles had also taken the exit in hopes of finding a faster route. The back roads were less congested, and the pace was steadier. Having traveled extensively through the central US, Angelique felt comfortable navigating her way without the aid of technology. Her internal compass and past experiences served her well. The lush landscape, dotted with quaint towns and farmland, provided a scenic backdrop that was in stark contrast to the stressful gridlock she had just left behind. While she might have been on vacation, Angelique's adventurous spirit couldn't be tamed. Taking the less-traveled roads felt like a mini-adventure in itself, offering an opportunity to rediscover forgotten corners of the region. With each mile, she felt more connected to the land and more distanced from the chaos she was leaving behind. Open road and the rhythmic hum of the car beneath her seemed to create a trance-like state, urging her thoughts to drift. The perplexing situation with the National Guard played on her mind. In today's age of advanced technology and surveillance, how could such a large group, especially in vehicles as conspicuous as theirs, remain elusive, Angelique mused. The backed-up traffic at the state line only added to the intrigue. It was as if the state border had transformed into an international checkpoint overnight. But as the road stretched endlessly before her, Angelique consciously made an effort to detach herself from those puzzling thoughts. She had time off, a rarity in her line of work, and she was intent on savoring it. As the miles sped by, the worries of the world faded, replaced by anticipation and the beauty of the surrounding landscapes. The road, with its twists, turns, and surprises, seemed to mirror the unpredictability of life, reminding Angelique to embrace the journey and its many detours. Angelique recalled her first visit home after enlisting in the army. That brief respite between basic training and her military police instruction at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, was just a short drive from home. She had longed to reunite with her parents, but was well aware they wouldn't attend her basic training graduation. Her decision to join the military had caused a deep divide, contrasting sharply with their pacifist beliefs. Her return home after 10 intense weeks was far from the warm embrace she had hoped for. Their conversations were laden with tension, and both parents couldn't help but attribute her decision to old Jerry and his captivating tales from the front lines. The estrangement persisted until she came home from her second deployment overseas, just in time to be with old Jerry during his final days at the hospital. During her second deployment, Angelique began to find solace in the letters from her mother that arrived regularly. To her surprise, her father started writing soon after. She couldn't fathom the sudden change in their attitude. Throughout her entire first deployment, despite her persistent efforts to communicate, sending letters and thoughtful gifts, she received nothing in return. But when it came to her parents, she bore no resentment. Upon completing her tour, she promptly headed to her beloved Rocktown, Missouri, during her rest and recuperation period. The place held countless memories: her first school, her early friendships, and the deep connection she'd formed with Carl, her first love. However, the homecoming wasn't the jubilant occasion she'd imagined. After the initial festivities of her welcome party and repeatedly inquiring about old Jerry's whereabouts, she was met with somber faces and heartbreaking news. Cancer had ravaged Jerry's body, leaving him with limited time. Moments after learning of his condition, the entire family set out for the hospital, rallying around the ailing Jerry. The looming loss of old Jerry had shaken Angelique more profoundly than the perils of her deployments. He had been her guiding light, imparting wisdom and molding her fighting spirit, ultimately shaping her into the formidable woman she had become. As she burst into his room, she instinctively wrapped her arms around him, her tears staining his hospital gown. "Are you trying to finish me off early, girl?" Jerry had quipped, mustering all the strength he could for a playful reprimand. Despite the gravity of his condition, he was determined to remain the stoic figure she had always known, not wanting to be seen as vulnerable, even if in his eyes she was still that headstrong child, defiantly kicking truck tires. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" she had asked while letting up on his neck and sitting alongside him on his bed. "The last thing you needed on your mind when going to a place like the Middle East was an old man here. Besides, your parents and I haven't been this close in years, and that was a great feeling. Now can you do something for me?" She looked him directly in the eyes and had taken his hand in both of hers. "You don't have to ask me for anything. Just tell me what you want, you old grunt." "Great, then get off my catheter hose. The pain pills don't help with that." Jerry smiled in agony, unable to take the added discomfort any longer. With the reflexes of a startled feline, she sprang back, immediately showering him with apologies. Jerry's laughter erupted, so hearty that it nearly took his breath away, the sharp sting of pain evident on his face. Yet the genuine mirth behind it was undeniable. Soon Angelique and everyone else in the room was swept up in the infectious laughter. Despite the pain, that deep belly laugh was a gift Jerry cherished, a final shared moment of unbridled joy. After the laughter subsided and the room grew calm, Jerry requested a private moment with Angelique. Once they were alone, he spoke intently, sensing that his time was drawing near. "Ange, I knew when you were a very little girl that you were a warrior. I tried to obey your parents' wishes and not encourage those traits. It didn't take long for you to show me that was no use." Jerry's lips had gone to what Angelique recognized as his beautiful smile in the making. He was just too weak to get all the way there. "You have proved my belief in you. You make me so very proud. I need you to do one thing for me." She waited, eager to do whatever her best friend and dearest friend asked. "We both have taken the same oath. Never forget it. Live by it. We may die, but we few keep this nation under our protection until death relieves us from that duty." Tears had filled Angelique's eyes, and as if a dam had broken, they all came pouring out at once as she could sense he was fading away. "Give an old soldier a hug now." Angelique could tell that Jerry was barely able to get it out, and as she had her arms wrapped around him, she felt him marching off into the distance. At this rate, Angelique might as well have stayed on the interstate. The thoughts of Jerry had taken her over to the point where she found herself on the side of the road, her tears rolling once more. "This is no way to start a vacation, damn it." Angelique scolded herself for crying. The thoughts of Jerry were the only thing that ever brought tears to her eyes. She began thinking of other times during her youth, not times with Jerry, but times with her first true love, Karnik. Angelique went over in her mind how they had met, and just how horrific that day had been. Her most pleasurable times had been throwing him to the ground while teaching him self-defense. She had really enjoyed that. Even though he had been tall and lanky, he had still been better than the straw dummies and stickmen she'd trained with. Carl never could put her down. Then again, she had been the one training him. That was up until the day he and his family had just moved away, out of the blue. These days, moving wasn't that big of a deal. You could still stay in touch very easily through text and hundreds of different ways, thanks to the internet. But not back then. Many people then were lucky to own a phone. Angelique mused about how alien that concept was to her now.